My name is Thaddeus Worsnop. I'm a solutions architect with AWS out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm going to be talking to you today about the AWS infrastructure and services that you can use to elevate your security in the cloud. And then I'm going to pivot quickly into network transformation on AWS. So let's jump in. So you can see kind of the 5 buckets of areas we'll be talking about infrastructure and services in today from the security standpoint. At AWS, we like to say that security is job 0, which just means that it's more important than anybody's job 1. And you can really see this in all the security capabilities that we have built into our various service offerings and all the security compliance certifications that we've achieved. But also in the fact that AWS is the only commercial cloud that's had its services and supply chains vetted and approved as secure enough to operate top secret workloads. And in addition to all the compliance controls and capabilities that you get from running on top of AWS, you also get the advantage of taking tons of reference architectures that are created by AWS and partners. And speaking of our partners, we do have the largest ecosystem of security partners and solutions anywhere. And we allow you to extend the benefits of AWS by using those security and technology consulting and solution partners that you're familiar with, that you know and trust in order to extend the capabilities in AWS. And as we step through, we'll look at some of the native AWS capabilities that we provide, some of those security compliance things, as well as how you can complement that and extend that using partner solutions that you may be familiar with already. The most sensitive workloads are already running in AWS, so it's not really a question anymore. Here you can see some quotes from the financial services industry, healthcare, as well as an airline around why they chose AWS for their sensitive workloads. And as we step through, hopefully you'll understand more how these customers are able to realize these benefits of moving into AWS. So AWS has the most security standards compliance available. These includes things like PCI DSS, HIPAA/high-tech, the EU Data Protection Directive, FISMA, and all of these effectively just help our customers satisfy regulatory compliance virtually anywhere around the world. And just makes it easier for you to take these, show them to your auditors, and then do your gap assessment for the components that you're responsible for. So with AWS, you can control where your data is stored, who can access it, and what resources your organization is consuming at any given time. You can leverage the fine-grained identity and access controls to really lock down how systems are accessed and at what time, so that you never have more access than you need, but you also always have access to the resources that you need when you need them. You can reduce risk as you're starting to scale up into the AWS environment by using security automation and leveraging activity monitoring to detect high-risk activities like a configuration change that happens anywhere in your environment. And then you can also extend the AWS capabilities into your existing solutions and existing workflows that your teams already have by feeding some of those events into those tools. And then sometimes customers can finish the workflow out of that existing tool, or other times it may link into other AWS services like Detective, and we'll talk a little bit more about the services as we move through. The important part to take away is really just the flexibility in integrating with third-party tools, third-party workflows, and complementing what you have within AWS natively. So AWS is vigilant about our priorities. Because customers care deeply about security, we have a team of experts that are monitoring the environment 24/7, making sure that it's secure and that we're protecting our customers' data. With AWS, you're built on the most secure global infrastructure, and you control your data. You decide what region it gets hosted in, you decide how it's encrypted, if it's a key that AWS has or that you control exclusively, and you can manage retention and move it and do whatever you want. You own the data. AWS is just providing you with the tools and the flexibility to put the data where you want, maybe to deal with any residency requirements on the data or specific compliance requirements you have, and you can control the encryption keys that you can use to cryptographically delete it for some rights to be forgotten, things that may be in your compliance standards. And this is all built on an encryption first environment. So with AWS, we say, encrypt everything all the time. So this is seen in things like our global network that interconnects our regions and our availability zones. But anytime data leaves one of our secured facilities, it's encrypted at layer 1 as it moves across our global network. And you'll see our global network a little bit later in the network transformation section. But in addition to that encryption that we do for you, we also provide you the tools to do encryption on your side, whether that's in transit with TLS and things like that on our services, or at rest on our services using either, again, KMS keys that you manage or keys that are managed by the service, just to make it really easy for you to choose the appropriate mechanism to protect that data and comply with the local regulations and privacy laws that you need for your particular workloads. So automating security tasks on AWS enables you to be more secure by reducing the human interactions and potential errors that may happen in your environment. We provide comprehensive sets of APIs so that you can kind of build this into your existing workflows, but then we also integrate our own services together as first-class citizens so that you can easily have a complete workflow for the data. So perhaps you're using a monitoring tool like Guard Duty to detect that a security key from your environment is being used from an IP that's not part of your organization. That could feed through a tool like our Security Hub, which normalizes the security events, trigger through our CloudWatch, and do remediation or notification through a Slack channel, or all the above. But you can build the types of tools you want in the workflows that you want, using either all native AWS capabilities, or if one of those pieces you want to be a third party based on existing relationships or preferences or capabilities, you're able to easily integrate that single component of the third party or AWS based on your preferences, because we have a comprehensive set of APIs. And when you put all these things together, it really reduces the amount of exposure that you have, because obviously the computer systems can respond much more quickly than humans do. And then when you need humans in the loop, we're providing a robust set of data because everything that happens in AWS is logged. So when you get the human investigation, perhaps through our Amazon Detective service, you'd be able to quickly link off and see the threat graph to understand which identities have been involved, what was the scope of the incident, and hopefully get to a resolution very quickly. So here we've aligned the AWS security specific services to the epics of the security well-architected framework. If you aren't familiar with our well-architected framework, it describes key concepts, design principles, and architectural best practices for successful operations within the cloud. There are 6 pillars, one of those being security, and then security is broken up into these epics that we've aligned the security services to. So you can see, just looking at the slide, there are a lot of different security services at AWS that are built into all of these different high-level security capabilities. And you can take a look at something like our identity and access management service that's used to authenticate and authorize users within the AWS environment. It allows you to do attribute-based access controls and all sorts of really cool things. One of my favorite stats around IAM is that it processes 400 million transactions per second. So just to give you sort of an idea of the scale that identity and access management is controlling, but also just how fine-grained we are with all those additional checks for appropriate access and making sure that everything is being authenticated and that only the right systems have the right access. I talked a little bit about guard duty and how it can integrate with CloudWatch. AWS Shield is a really powerful service as well. AWS Shield is available for all of your infrastructure services that you run within AWS. You're already protected by default by our standard Shield offering for DDoS mitigation. But there's also another tier of Shield called Shield Advance that I think is really cool in that it gives you access to our dedicated DDoS response team. So a team of folks that their full-time job is just mitigating these DDoS incidents and helping our customers make sure that their environment is ready to absorb any of those attacks. It has nice benefits like your WAF rules. If you opt in, that DDoS response team can create layer 7 mitigations within the WAF to block an attack that's going on. And they do that based on the last 90 days of activity against those web applications in order to ensure any rules that they put in place to mitigate the attack won't impact your live traffic. And all of that can happen hopefully while you're still sleeping and you just get the report the next morning. So again, just another one of the really cool services that I see built into the environment. Services like Macy use machine learning to detect PII, PHI within your objects in S3. So you can get reports and threat reports against that data so that if you have high, sensitive data like personal health information that may be in an overly permissive bucket, that sort of thing, so you can take appropriate action on that data, or if there's anomalous behavior happening against that data, you can get that detailed through Macy. And we already talked a little bit about Security Hub and Detective, so we'll move on. But I will call out Amazon or AWS Artifact. AWS Artifact is that location where you'd go to pull down all those compliance reports that you may have. So within AWS, if you're ever wondering, what was the findings in a particular audit, you can get that out of AWS Artifact in your console. So even with all of these, we're not trying to go it alone. We have a lot of great partners that you can leverage in order to take advantage of their services and extend the capabilities of AWS. This is just a few of them in the areas that they may be able to help. We've carefully selected these providers based on deep expertise and proven success securing every stage of the cloud. If you want to find out more about the different partners that are available or their specific competencies, you can go to partners.amazonaws.com or just search for the AWS Partner Network, and you'll be able to go in there to our Partner Solution Finder and locate an appropriate partner to help you. All right, so switching gears quickly to network transformation on AWS. So with network transformation, we're going to look at what it is, what we're going to be talking about, some of the challenges of a modern or kind of current state of networking, and then we're going to look at some of the benefits our customers have shared when they've done a networking transformation based on AWS. So we're not just going to be looking at the connectivity within AWS, between VPCs, between services. This also includes your connectivity back to your data centers and branches, out to the internet, and then the associated security across all of those areas. A traditional network today probably looks a lot like this. Have a data center that's kind of the center of the world and some branch offices that have users operating out of it. Over time, this company may decide to expand into another region, and because this is more modern, perhaps they decide SD-WAN is the best fit for the new build-out. And obviously, there'll be some sort of a data center interconnect between these data centers to provide connectivity between the two sides of the environment. Now, these networks tend to come with long carrier connectivity commitments that result in complex environments that have lots of nuanced interoperability dependencies, and this all kind of boils down to very highly specialized domain knowledge to build and support these networks that have been put together. And what that ultimately boils down to is high operational and maintenance overheads for the environment, as well as limited ability to adapt to the changes in the application requirements or user access patterns. So what happens when we add AWS into the mix here? Well, typically, you connect a single region to AWS, and you do that via direct connect, normally to their closest data center. And customers typically realize they need another region for DR or for bursting out of the other geo, so you'll end up with another region that's also tied into the local data center there. And in the world we live in today, you can't forget that users now live everywhere. They're not just coming in through your branch offices and things like that, so you'll end up with client access VPNs at every point within the network. So once customers get to this point, they typically start migrating some applications into the cloud. And as they're starting to make these migrations and moving applications into the cloud to take advantage of some of these cool security features or the pay-as-you-go model, the gravity of the network shifts. And now the data centers are still the hub of the network, but the majority of the apps are running in these AWS regions. Now, the best case is that you're just adding a little bit of latency and cost by rerouting the connections through on-premises data centers, but oftentimes we find that those on-premises data centers become bottlenecks, and whether it's just fixed internet circuits or direct connect circuits that aren't able to handle the load that they have, they become problematic for the customers. So what we've seen recently is that customers are starting to shift to a transformation based on AWS and leveraging AWS as the core instead of their on-prem data centers. And what that looks like is you shift AWS into kind of the center, and then you build out all of that connectivity to the various locations. You would also potentially replace your data center interconnect with direct connect site link if you still have some apps in those data centers that need to replicate. And all of this functions on the AWS global backbone. So that AWS global backbone looks a little bit like this. So there's lots and lots of dedicated fiber running, circumnavigating the globe, hundreds of network pops, and just terabits of bandwidth between these locations, highly redundant, highly optimized for our environment. And as I mentioned earlier, anytime a connection on our network leaves our secured facility, so all these lines going between these locations are encrypted at the physical layer, so you're able to take advantage of that in addition to any encryption that you layer on or that's just part of the environment. For example, any VPC to VPC connection into region would be encrypted as well. So as you have network locations distributed around the world, now these distributed offices, distributed users can connect into any one of these dots and get access to the AWS global network instead of having to backhaul to a network or to a particular data center. So you get to benefit from kind of the elasticity and just the nature of AWS consumption being pay as you go, so that your users now have clustered in a different area in the US or around the world. They can still access resources, and you're not stuck with unused networking capabilities maybe in one of the branch locations. So just summarizing the benefits here real quick, the network hub enables flexibility and agility for you. Because it's all software defined and API driven, you can move to infrastructure and config as code. You can save costs by leveraging pay-as-you-go type networking services on AWS and moving those workloads and traffic patterns wherever makes sense in your environment. But you also get to take advantage of the security that's baked into everything we do at AWS. And just so that you know, it's not just me saying it. We've done this with customers, and probably the piece that I would pull out of this quote is that they migrated and got 15% round trip latency reduction and less than 4 milliseconds of jitter on that network, all while reducing their spend and simplifying operations. So I know we're up on time, so I'm going to stop there. If you're interested in network transformation or knowing more about security on AWS, feel free to reach out to me, and I can connect you with your account team, or obviously if you know your account team, reach out directly to them and they'll be well suited to help you.